Well, as we approach the one-year mark since rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol, investigators are still working on bringing all those involved in the attack to justice. So far, more than 700 people have been charged with crimes stemming from the insurrection. And Catherine Herridge spoke exclusively with Michael Sherwin. He is the former top prosecutor who launched the investigation.
It was important for us to move quickly to charge a good number of cases to instill in the public that the rule of law worked.
Michael Sherwin, then the Justice Department's top prosecutor in the District of Columbia, launched the Capitol riots investigation.
Within 10 weeks, we're talking about, I think, close to 1,000 search warrants, 1,500 grand jury subpoenas, 350 to 400 arrest warrants. So just a number unseen before in any probably federal district in history.
You said that no one was off limits. Everything was on the table.
It didn't matter if you were a speaker that day, or if you were a congressman, if you were in the executive office, the president, or if you were just one of the vendors selling popcorn that day. If your conduct fit the crime, we had the evidence, you were charged.
Since that day, more than 725 defendants have been arrested, the vast majority charged with entering or remaining in a restricted federal building or grounds. About 40 defendants, including Oath Keepers, 3%ers, and Proud Boys, face more serious conspiracy charges. At least 5 had pleaded guilty. Sherwin told CBS News the trend lines emerged early.
This is our nation, not theirs.
The great bulk of those individuals were these one-offs. They made terrible decisions. This wasn't something that was pre-baked and planned. And then you have a sliver of cases, we'll call them militia-type cases, where there appeared to be a more collective planning.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows.
Later that day, as then Vice President Mike Pence certified the Electoral College, prosecutors mapped a legal strategy.
We initially had a command post set up that evening at the Capitol Police headquarters, where we had to set up an architecture to handle these cases because there was no roadmap.
From an FBI mobile command center, thousands of hours of social media and security camera footage collected, often reviewed minute by minute.
We set up crews to look at body-worn camera footage and videos to try to identify who those people were, identify, fix, find them, and then get arrest warrants on them.
Prosecutors say 140 police officers were assaulted that day. To date, 75 defendants have been charged.
Should the Capitol building have been locked down as a crime scene?
That would have essentially stopped the certification. So I think leadership wanted to ensure that, look, let's collect as much evidence as we can, but we have to show the public that this process hasn't been deterred.
Approximately 165 individuals have pleaded guilty, among them the so-called QAnon shaman, Adam Johnson, and Robert Scott Palmer, who pleaded guilty to assaulting officers with a dangerous weapon and was sentenced to more than 5 years in prison, the toughest sentence yet. The FBI is still asking for the public's help to identify the pipe bomber who left viable devices at the Republican and Democratic Party headquarters.
So if those devices went off, you go from a terrible situation to a terrible situation on steroids.
And another 350 believed to have committed violent acts on Capitol grounds.
So are we years out from seeing the end of these cases?
It would not surprise me if there's cases charged in 2022 or 2023.
So Catherine Herridge is here to discuss. So Catherine, we heard from Michael Sherwin kind of the investigation by the numbers, charges and individuals investigated. But what is the sort of prosecution by the numbers? Out of the defendants, the hundreds of defendants that have already been sentenced, how many of them have been sentenced? What's the average punishment so far?
Well, good morning, Anne-Marie. About 70 defendants have been sentenced, and a little less than half that are seeing jail time. The longest sentence so far is for an individual who pleaded guilty to assaulting a police officer, and he received over 5 years in prison. But there's been variation, some 6 months, some a year, some 3 years. And one of the criticisms has been there's almost been sort of an inconsistency with what the government has sought in terms of jail time for some of these defendants.
In your reporting, you mentioned that there are some defendants, like members of the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, Proud Boys, they face more serious conspiracy charges. What are those charges, and what sort of sentences are they facing?
Well, broadly speaking, the allegation is that this was a conspiracy extended across several states and that there was significant pre-planning and premeditation to come to Washington and to challenge the election result and to obstruct the certification of the Electoral College. It's tough to say what these individuals would get if they are found guilty, because there's a complicating factor here. A number of individuals have already pleaded guilty and agreed to cooperate with the government. If that cooperation helps flesh out the conspiracy, others may seek not to go to trial and also plead to lesser sentences, or they may opt to go to trial and face very significant consequences, decades in jail.
Mm-hmm. And then, we've heard the possibility of sedition, but no one's been charged with sedition yet. Can you sort of explain what that means and what are the possibilities that the DOJ actually charges any of these rioters with that?
Well, I've been following this, Anne-Marie, from the very beginning, and for some reason, sedition has had tremendous weight, and it has not been charged to this point. Sedition, I'm not a lawyer, but it basically means that you are rebelling against the authority of a state or government. So when you read some of the broader conspiracy allegations, they would seem to fit that crime, but it has not been brought by the Justice Department yet. That's not to say that they couldn't, but so far they have chosen not to do so.
So we are going to be hearing from Attorney General Merrick Garland. He's going to give us an update from the Justice Department's on the Justice Department's efforts to get accountability. Of course, the 1 year, sort of marking 1 year since the insurrection at the Capitol. What will we hear from him? The focus right now in terms of the investigation, the prosecution, I feel like we're talking an awful lot about, the people who stormed the Capitol. But there are others who organized buses, people who may not have actually been at the Capitol, but were participants in what happened. And I'm wondering if we'll sort of hear anything more about where the investigation is going next.
Anne-Marie, the expectation is that the Attorney General will be addressing employees at the Justice Department, so it won't be what I would describe as a typical news conference setting. And we also expect he'll discuss the importance of upholding the Constitution, applying the law fairly and without favor. But we do not expect at this point that he will address specific individuals or cases. So I don't think we're going to get the kind of detail you and others are hoping for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. All right, Catherine, thank you so much.